What an honor to be inducted to the Carolinas Golf Hall of Fame. Golf in the Carolinas is part of the fabric of this whole area. And I couldn't be more thankful to be part of this group and to go in with David. David's a golf guy, just like me. So I think David was talking about when he got to the game, I was never out of the game. When I was born in Newcastle, Indiana, they took me from the hospital to above the snack bar at the American Legion Coffee House, Newcastle, Indiana. So I've never been anywhere other than the golf course. People ask me about retirement, and I say, I'm a duck in my pond and I'm swimming. Because that's where I feel most comfortable. When Rick called me, he's right. He said, you know, I was shocked because I knew I'd been nominated. I had no idea that the process could last for 10 years. So I had written it off. And we were watching my grandkids hit balls and topped off in Akron, which was a converted driving range that I built at Firestone. So it was a pretty good location, obviously. But after my grandchildren, it was 12 degrees was the raw temperature with a little bit of this Akron, Ohio. They busted 2 club heads off. We finally quit because the graphite shaft broke apart. We said, well, that's the end of that. So that one, we quit. This is a home game for me. So I have quite a few people to introduce. Obviously, you just heard from my son. My son is a good player. At one point in time, he was ranked 15th amateur in the world. So he could golf his ball. My wife, who supports me, makes my life great. Honey, I love you. Gary Robinson, who's my best friend. And every once in a while, you know, I've had a bunch of surgeries, both hips, both knees, and some spine stuff, but I'm still trying. I get to think that, you know, I'm getting to play a little bit better, and then I go down in the winter and visit Gary, and we play in some senior events, and things they call the senior stroke play. And so the first round, I'm playing pretty good. I got 3 under par, and I'm going to shoot like 68. They kind of gapped me by the Howell jar and the tee, so Gary's another tee behind me because he's 5 years older or younger than me. And so one of the golf pros' wives comes walking by, and he said, how you guys doing? I said, well, I'm pretty good, 60. I think I'm going to shoot 68. And she said, well, that's pretty good. Gary Robinson just shot 60. When you're 70 years old and you shoot 60 in a tournament, you can golf your ball. Now, he wound up shooting 67, 64. The next 2 rounds, the middle round, he had the ball in the water last hole for a double. But he won the tournament by 4 shots. 2 years prior to that, same tournament, he had the lowest score of the tournament every day and won the tournament by 11. So that's my best friend. I'm just going to keep getting my ass kicked by him. It's just him. But anyway, Gary, thanks for being here. Ken, for instance, is here, and Ken inducted me in the first Hall of Fame I was ever in, 1988 Indiana Golf Hall of Fame. Ken can golf his ball. He's been the 3-time amateur champion for the state of Indiana, and oddly enough, he's a good friend of David. David stayed with him during the mid-am in Indianapolis when he won a cricket stick. So they're friends, and I think they first met, he said, in the Crump Cup at Pine Valley, and Kent was leading, and I think Jay Siegel won, but Kent was on the 16th or 17th hole, and he was leading me, pulled it over into the tree, and kind of chopped it around, evidently, and David was keeping his card, and he got there, and he said, Kent, I have you for 9. And Kent said, that is not correct. It was 10. So anyway, I think that Kent, if nothing else, he's honest. But at the end of the day, you know, I thank you and Charlotte for both coming. I got Pat Padgett, Nancy Barnes, their family, my daughter, granddaughter Becca, and my daughter Jennifer. Jennifer is my biggest fan, always has been. I need to have some thank yous to make. First of all, to Richard. he nominated me, and we had a conversation about 2 or 3 years ago. And Richard Lawson, I'm sorry, got involved. And I said, Richard, I appreciate you nominating me, and it's just probably not going to happen. And we kind of made peace with it. You know, a lot of good players from Carolina, a lot of great names, and I just thank you for your effort. And so we walked away, and I walked outside, and there was a guy who evidently was listening to us. And he said, we can talk about the Hall of Fame. I said, yeah. He said, well, you got beat by caddie this year. And I said, well, were you talking about Willie McRae? And he said, yeah. I said, well, let me tell you something. Willie deserved it way more than I did. I said, Willie's in the International Golf Caddy Hall of Fame. And the guy looked at me like he thought he was going to really piss me off. And I thought, no, that ain't going to happen. Willie deserves it. I'm so happy Paul McRae could make it tonight. We used to have a game, Willie, Paul, and his cousin Derek. There's Willie. I asked Willie, I said, do you play golf? He said, sure, I can play golf, because Willie's missing a thumb. I said, what about thumb? He said, I've adjusted to that. So we would play our game, and Paul's pretty good. The only time I ever played Paul in the Colombo Cup, he beat me 4-3, so, and we're still friends. But anyway, it was a fun match, and we would play 3 or 4 years, and we always beat him, but Willie always got the money. And so I got to be pretty good friends with Willie, and I asked Willie one time, I said, Willie, you ever caddy for anybody you didn't like? And he said, well, yeah, a little bit. I said, well, anybody in particular? He said, well, there was one guy. And I said, well, how'd you handle it? He said, well, I kind of let him know. I said, how'd you do that? He said, well, it was a real hot day. He said he had on this tons of cologne. And he said, the gnats were just all over him. And he was just swatting at him, bothering him, and he was cussing, and he was ugly, and he couldn't play golf anyway. Every putt I read was bad, and every club I gave him was wrong. So finally, he says, Willie, he says, what are these damn things flying around me like bat-like things? He goes, oh, no, sir, those are not gnats. Those are Beasley bugs. And Beasley bugs. He said, I've never heard of a Beasley bug. He said, well, you normally see them flying around the end of a horse's behind. He said, well, Willie, are you calling me a horse's ass? He said, oh, no, sir, I'd never do that, but you can't fool those Beasley bugs. You gotta love Willie, Hall of Famer. And I was fortunate to have Willie caddy for me a long time, and it couldn't have been more fun. I've got my golf buddies back there, table 13 and 12. We've all played about 10 years together. I think we've all just gotten 10 years worse. You know, we get a little bit older, and it gets a little bit harder. I want to congratulate David on being inducted into this hall. I mean, he's, the rules of golf, you don't know anybody that has a better name or solid name than David. And I kind of was looking at his playing record, which is incredible. And I kind of identified why I thought he didn't do as well on the tour as he should have. If you look where he won as an amateur, he won Wingfoot, he won Pine Valley, won Pinehurst No. 2. I think the tour was a bunch of pitch and putts. He just couldn't, that game, those golf courses just were not hard enough for him. I think that's the real reason. But he's a golf guy, and I'm really glad to be inducted with him. I'm going to make another couple of introductions, and this is a Pinehurst place, and sometimes we have unsung heroes. My CFO while I was here, Dick Hickenbotham, has worked for the company since they've been famous since 1993. And Dick's retiring in April. And I can tell you it's sad. Dick loves to work and he loves his place. But if it hadn't been for Dick in 2008, 2009, I'm not sure we would have made it. I would have floundered. But Dick was the guy who got us through that. Dick, could you stand up and take it down? He's retiring. Another guy that's been here longer than ever, I think maybe 1980, Rich McRae. And Rich, I think, started as a bag boy at number 6. You know, not basically exec job, loading bags at number 6, then, which was like really the outpost because that went 4, 7, and 8. But anyway, Rich worked his way up through head golf professional, worked for my dad. Now he's the director of yield. And he's going to be retiring in April too. Rich, would you stand up? Rich is one of the main reasons that North Carolina high school golf is as solid as it is. You know, I've got another dear friend and friend of the family, and you know, the guy that I followed here, Pat Corso, and Judy's here. You know, when you think about Corso, you think the 99 Open, and you think about the Tour Championships, and you think about Pinehurst being a great place. Well, I can tell you, when he took over in '84, was a shell. And it had a reputation, kind of, but a forgotten. They brought us, all the clubs down, some of the people in the Northeast, in '86, they'd already been here about 2 years, to take a look at Pinehurst, to send some of our members back, get a little cash flow. We came down, we were here 2.5 days, and they gave us the best they had. And I told our membership secretary on the way back, don't ever send our members down there. He goes up the one time, they'll never come back. And he made something out of it. He made it to where, when I came here, I had something to work with. And I'd like to think that, you know, after Pat left, when he saw I'm taking the job, I think thought, well, I'm okay with that. I know he is, but we're still friends. So, and again, he and Judy have been friends with the Padgett family for a long, long time. You know, there's another guy that it's the only note that I wrote, actually printed because I can't write very well. I wanted to be able to read it when I retired. Because it's the only guy that's never been paid a dime, Pinehurst, has played incredibly important roles, our counselor, mentor, and liaison on numerous occasions, Jim Hyper. Jim, thank you very much for all your time. Reg Jones, if you ever want to be a chairman of a tournament and look good, have Reg Jones run. You know, when I was the general chairman of the 14 Open, I got the plaque, I got the accolades, I got all that, and all did. Red's got all the work. It was evenly split. Rich, you know, was part of Pinehurst Championship Management, and he did such a good job. USJ just hired him right away, and he couldn't have been smarter than that. You know, it's also the other part of that yin and yang. Tom Padgett was the marketing side of Pinehurst Championship Management. And we know how it turned out for him, so it wasn't too bad. But anyway, Lee Pace. Lee's been a, you know, friend of the Padgett family for a long, long time. Wrote the book on my dad. Wrote, Pat hired him at, what you say, 30 years old to write the first book about Pinehurst, the Golden Age. And then he also did a book on the restoration of number 2. which I think brought it to light for a lot of people. I'm just glad I'm not crying anymore. Well, and you know, I've got Bob Farron on here, but I'm going to talk about Bob a little bit later anyway. Bob's a dear friend, and he was my partner in crime doing number 2. But you couldn't have a better friend or a nicer human being than Bob Farron. Bob, thank you for everything you've ever done for me. I think the main reason that I'm up here tonight is making the decision to restore Pinehurst to its original state. You know, for a lot of people, that looked like an incredibly risky undertaking. Some questioned my sanity, but you know, I think I was just the right guy at the right time. You know, I've been around competitive golf my entire life. I played in a lot of competitions. I've been involved in preparation of golf courses for major competitions. I've worked with all the associations, the USGA, the PGA, to be able to put, and the PGA Tour, to put together a golf course for a competition. And David can tell you a lot goes into that, you know. And so the first kind of note that things might not be right was an article by Tom Duck. And I know it really upset Pat. And I didn't think much about it because I really wasn't involved that much at the time. But I read it and I thought, okay. Now, I do have to say one thing about it. I'm not a student of golf course architecture. I'm like most of the people in this room. The golf courses that I really like are the ones I play with. You know, so I have no idea. I couldn't have a discussion with Brandon Morissette about what makes a better golf course. I just don't. It doesn't attract me. But anyway, you know, things just kept coming up. I had Lanny Watkins, and when his son was playing at Wake Forest, and Lanny called me and said, "Let's play golf. I got my 2 boys in town." And I said, "Great." I said, I'll do that, but you got to speak to the guys north south there. Okay, we'll do that. So I played it. We're out playing number 2. You know, after about 4 or 5 holes, I wish I could never invite him because, you know, he's just chewing my ass about this golf course and where you hit it, where you can't hit it, what it shouldn't be. Of course, he played it a lot when he was at Wake. And so finally, about the 17th hole, I said, "Lanny, I've had enough. Over here." And I said, "I get it." He said, "Well, can you do anything about it?" I said, "I don't know. You know, I'm just done. It's Friday." And so about a week later, I got a message that Raymond Floyd wanted to talk to me. And so I get on the phone. I said, "Raymond, what can I do for you?" And I've known Raymond a long time. I played with Raymond when his backswing went past parallel. You know, so I played with him at the Kimber. I mean, Raymond had all the talent in the world. The stupid thing that happened to him was he won the PGA with a lifetime exemption at 20. He almost quit practicing altogether. And then once he got married, his backswing got shorter. He stayed home at night and started beating everybody. So, but anyway, I said, "Raymond, what do you want to talk to me about?" And he said, "Well, first of all, I'm going to talk to you about a company I'm getting involved with, Ship Sticks." And he tells me all about it. And I listened to him. And I'm thinking, that ain't going to work. So anyway, so what's next? What do you want to talk about? Well, I was talking about number 2. He said, I haven't played this. I watched on television, and, where they're, what they've done to it, where you need to hit the ball and you can't. Raymond's Fayetteville, and, I knew Raymond a little bit because LB and my dad were friends, and Raymond would play a practice round with me occasionally, and he was a great player, but so I had a little bit different relationship. Raymond, I understand that, but I don't know the golf course that well, and kind of ended the conversation, saying, well, what, can you do anything about it? I said, I don't really know. So anyway, those were the things that kind of got me to thinking about it. I never asked anybody why it changed. I thought I knew. Has a lot to do with, if you think of Tiger, 2000, different golf ball. And I think Will Miles was here. Pro V launched, in October of 2000. Golf ball started on 30 yards longer. And so all of a sudden, I think Payne won in 99. That was the last year for the Bellata ball, 1 under par. They don't say so. 280 wins the Open, always. Arnold Palmer thought that. It's just an unwritten rule. It's even par. So how do you have 280 be the Open, shoot and be the Open score on a golf course that you're going to hit the ball 30 yards further? You grow rough up. 3 or 4 inches of Bermuda rough pretty much negates that. And I've never asked anybody that. I just know it. So anyway, I was stuck. I didn't have the answer for it. But, Tom would tell you, as he's marketing and trying to sell it, the golf course and its ranking and perception was starting to deteriorate to the point where we didn't even put the ratings up there anymore. We started getting quotations, or I did this, of the great players and what they thought about the golf course. But, we were stuck. There was just nothing we could do. We'd hold the Open that, and then back then, once every 10 years. But we'd have the amateur, and you don't grow that stuff in now. It takes a process to get there. And at 08 in the amateur, Mike Davis started talking to us about, what would you think about if we took the golf course back, or we took I'm listening to him going, well, I haven't heard the magic term. We don't care what the score is. Never said that. Bob Devin said, what do you think? I said, Bob, just talk. I said, as long as the golf course even par is supposed to win, it's just home. So we fast forward. Mike kind of still talks about it. I'm just not even really engaging it. And we get to Bethpage, which was, I think, how long was that? Just a month they took to play that tournament, wasn't it, Brad? Mario Coleman, his infinite wisdom, they had brains, so he made the tickets good any day. That worked out well. More parking, it was just a disaster. So we're sitting in the hospitality, USJ hospitality, and it's raining. There's Bob Dedman, Tom Padgett was there, Jim Hyder, Mike Davis, David Fay. And you realize David Fay is the executive director. Mike is he's running the show. So we're talking about doing this golf course, and Bob Farron's there. For the first time, I'm thinking, well, Dave Fay's talking about it, and Mike Davis is talking about it. They're not stupid. They have to know that it'll play differently. And it's the first time the subject of score came up. And I said, well, guys, let's get to the real question. Does even par have to win the tournament? Mike looked at David. No, I don't think so. Wow. now it's possible. So we sat there, and I remember thinking, you know, funny things cross your mind. I'd sat there so long, my butt was numb. And I thought, I think the USGA needs better chairs in their hospitals. I did not hardly get up. Jim Highland was there. So anyway, we started talking about it. And like I said, I'm not a study of golf cart architecture. It just wasn't my thing. I said to David Fay, I said, if we consider undertaking this, who would you think we should work with? I was asking him a legitimate question. And then David had a funny way of wording things. He was a wordsmith. He said, well, a suit of clothes tailored by either Tom Doak or Bill Gordon Crenshaw is always a good fit. You know, what answer to that question? And so that's where we started. Now, we get up, we're walking out, Bob Dedman's there, obviously. That's the famous saying. He says to me, he says, well, Padge, this is either going to be the smartest thing we ever did or the dumbest thing we ever did. I don't know which. I kind of understood what, if it was the latter, what that meant for me. But I was on board to do it. So we started pursuing it, and we bought, first of all, Bill and Ben, because I had known Ben from playing the tour and college golf, and obviously he's a Texan, and he had done a golf course for Barton Creek Club we owned, and built where they were building Dormy at the time, that we would start with them. And I'm going to digress just a little bit. You know, Patty and Jake Moore are here tonight, and I didn't really know them that well in '09. I know them both a lot better now. And I had intended to go to her induction, but the only day that Bill Core and Mike Davis could meet together was that Saturday. And I was on the first tee of number 2 with the two of them, with Bill and Mike trying to convince Bill it was okay for what he wanted to do. So Patty, I would have been there. I don't know where you're at, you and Jake are at, but you know, I would have been there had that not been the case. So anyway, you know, we meet, and we got Bill in the boardroom, Bob and I, and he said, what would you guys like to talk about? So we'd like for you to think about restoring number 2. And he said, to what? He said, that'd be up to you. And he got sat there, and he didn't say anything. He said, I don't really think so. I said, what do you mean? I just don't know. I don't. You can play in the open. I think Bill realized the risk he was taking. And so now I'm looking at Bob, and I said, well, Bill, if Mike Davis, you talked to him for a while, and he was in on it, and he was part of that with the open, would you be interested? So I don't know. He said, I'll talk to Mike. I'll go that far with you. I'll do that. So that was the meeting that we had. And so we're out on the tee, and we're walking, and Mike's showing him what he wants to do. That's okay. They put white in the fairway. That's okay. So finally, you know, at the end of the day, Bill comes to me and says, yeah, I think we're going to do it. We're going to make that happen. So anyway, now we're doing it, and Bob Farron and I are trying to figure out how to get it done, and trying to work with Bill. And I would have to tell you that the outcome of the project couldn't have been better. Now, we had a few dissenters at the Open. Bubba Watson hated it. And I think, who the hell is Bubba Watson? You know, it was an absolute disaster to implement. And if I hadn't had an owner and a partner in that, it would have been a complete failure. We would have lost the war. And just going to give you a couple of high points on that. And I can tell you, it took about a couple of years off my life. I might have went a couple more years back for that project. We decided that, you know, they're tearing up the turf and we're going to redo the greens, but initially, the third green, the fifth green were almost 100% Palladium. And so we're just going to do 2 greens. Okay, good. Mike's good with that. Well, that summer we had 104 or 5 degree days, humidity's off the chart, and we had U.S. teams tournament on the golf course. We literally lost the greens in one day. I mean, we were going to do 2, and Kevin is, Robinson's out there, Bill's on the walkie-talkie, we're losing this green, we're losing that green. Once we go past 9, I'm sitting out in the 16th fairway, and I call Bob on the phone, he goes, what's up? I said, we got a little problem. So what's that? I said, we've just lost all the greens on number 2. He goes, what do you mean lost all the greens? And I explained it to him. So what do you want to do? I said, well, Bob, we're at 9. He goes, well, USJ, I'll let you do half of them. I go, all right, you got it, right away. I said, we just sod them all. He said, okay, what's that going to cost? I don't know right now. Get back when you know. But go ahead and get it done. Wow. That could have been the end of it right there. Different owner, you're done. Stayed right with it. We decided to sod them, so now we go in and cutting. Bill wants to cut the sod off. We get it all done. It's all ready to do it. Bob calls me. Bill wants to talk to you. We got on the 18th green, and we've cut that sod on there. I've never seen anything like the base. It looked like black rubber, and you walk on it, and it actually bounced. And I know you can't put the sod on that. I said, so what do you want to do? We got to go over them all again with the same thing. So now we're like, oh, how long did that take? About 2 weeks to do that. So that's what we did. Bill wanted to, you know, now the nice thing is that the architects of it kind of like they let the air out of the greens. So that was great. Problem is we had early snow. Lost all of our sod sources. We got no sod. I had a guy from Cleveland who built runways and highways, and I knew that he had heated tarps that they kept the concrete ready to work. And I said, Jimmy, I'm in really trouble. I need your help. Can those tarps work on sod? And he said, well, yeah, I think so. He said, what's golf course you doing? I said, number 2. He goes, oh, shit. So he said, I'll help you. He got his guys, trucks, blew the tarps, went over Pittsburgh, laid the tarps down. What did that get us, 4 or 5 greens, maybe? And then they got snowed out. By the way, we never got a bill for that. And he's 100% union. That's what good friends are for. We get another sod source, get some out, and we're getting there. Now you got to realize these trucks are coming from the north. It's that cold already. When we get the sod, it's frozen. Bob's putting heaters in the barn to let it thaw out before we can lay it. We finally get it out, and we get it on the greens, and we get down to New Year's Day. We got 1 green, we got no sod. 17th green. All sources are out. Nothing. Bob calls me and says, how we doing? I said, not nothing good. He goes, I said, we're outside. Bob, I think we lost the war. He said, well, you know what? Call me back and you figure it out. Bitch. And yell at me. Great owner. You got to figure it out. Call me back. Bob and I are both with faith. We did a lot of praying. Bob said to me, I think we found a little bit of sod at Sand Hills Turf out in the back. And I said, great, okay. I'm not even believing that. So anyway, I go out there and watch him. I said, Kevin, what's the sod? Kevin shows me the sod. I can see his hands through it. That's how thin it is. And so they're laying it, and Joe Wainwright was laying it too. And I'm thinking, well, thanks for nothing. And anyway, this was like January 10th, and we're open March 1st. And so I want to call Bob and tell him we crapped out, we just lost it. Well, we had the second warmest February on record. Bob calls me in and he said, if you want to look at 17 green lately, I go, no, I don't want it. He goes, go look. So I take a card and write down there. It's perfect. Thank you, Lord. You know, we're going to make it. That was one incident. We get into the fall, and Toby Cobb, who was the foreman for Bill and everything, he was the guy on site, was doing something up around Budding Green. He has a sprinkler in it. It's going 30 feet in the air. And I said, I don't think much about it. Well, 3 hours later, it's still running. And I called Bob. I said, what's the deal with the sprinkler head? He can't get it turned off. He goes, well, you know, those valves. He said, we're down there. You can't tell with the vibration where they're stuck. I said, what are you talking about? He said, well, you know, that's the original system. I said, what are you talking about? 1935. We had played 2 U.S. Opens, and basically Donald Ross's system, 1935 irrigation system, was the backbone of that irrigation. And I'm thinking to myself, Bob Denton Sr. is spinning around in his grave with the money that he spent here, and we've got a 1935 irrigation system. What I do? Call Bob. Bob, we got a 1935 irrigation system. You sure kidding? I said, no, it's a Donald Ross's system. You know, and it's funny, there's a letter in the archives about Tufts telling Donald Ross he couldn't afford to put it in, and Donald Ross writing back saying, it's already in, you'll really enjoy the effects of it when you get here. So he didn't want to put it in either. But anyway, so we need an irrigation system. That was just a minor miscue. But anyway, what did Bob say? Do it, whatever makes work, whatever happens. So we get into the winter, we're playing into the whole irrigation system, didn't plan on it. And I had to have it on the weekends because I was nervous about it, riding around or walking around when I could walk in and watch the guys work. And I come on Kyle Friends, and he's up working the 9th hole. I don't see anybody else. And I said, Kyle, hey, doing good. I said, where is everybody? He said, well, I'm in. I said, what do you mean you're in? So, well, Dave Axon hurt his back, and there's another guy, Jim Bob, had another job he had to do. Somebody else left. Toby Cobb had a personal thing at home, so we're down one guy. I called Bill on the phone. I said, Bill, we're open March 1st. We've got to get this done. And I said to Kyle Franks, I said, is there anybody you can call? I don't care who it is, what we have to pay. They need to get here. Kyle called a bunch of guys out in Oregon. George Waters was one of them, I think. Worked for the USGA, wrote a book on sand. And so got them all here. Bill's like beside himself. But anyway, I think the reason the project once turned out so well, nobody had any work. It was 08, 09, the middle of the recession. Nobody was working. All those guys were available. You know, and the quality of their work, you know, then Kelly hired them to do the restoration midlines. It turned out beautiful. Same guys. But it was lucky. You know, normally they wouldn't have been available. So, a lot of sleepless nights. But it turned out really well. It doesn't happen without an extraordinary owner, without an extraordinary partner. And I can stand up and take all the credit. You know. But anyway, I just got to tell you, you know, we're in this great room, and the club piece has really prospered the last few years. Had inherited just an incredible bad situation for the banks, and I did work through it. And my friend Frank Gore over there is the absolute expert in all things club management and club facilities and everything about club. And if you don't think so, just ask him, tell him. But we got Frank to be involved. And for those of you who are members, everything that you like about this club, about 50% of it you can thank Frank Gore for. Now the other part of the money is Bob. But Frank had to do, he orchestrated it, we implemented it. I just wanted to recognize him. We're kind of kindred spirits. If you give him a round of applause. You know, we are in the rating business, and even more so now because of the internet and all the stuff, and Tom can tell you how technically adept I am. Or I do email now and text, that's it. But it's all based on YouTube, ratings and things. And those ratings now, that golf course is one of the magazines, number 2 that you can play. The other one's number 3. And then one we don't do as well with is number 6 in the country. Now you have the US Opens, you have the exposure, you have the ratings, you have a pretty good thing to sell. You know, and Tom's done an incredible job of that. You know, I've said on numerous occasions, the only thing that I could have done better to help Bob Denton and Tom Pashley would have been to retire earlier. That would have been the biggest way I could help them. But anyway, I'm going to leave you with one thought. That golf course has performed extremely well. And this year, it really performed well. As we saw with the Bermuda Greens, David, and they were firm. 1999, 100 par wins. 2005, similar score. 2014, acceptable score. One guy shot 100, everybody else go par. This year, 5 under, 6 under, 2 leaders, two of the best players in the world. Not one drop of rain. What's rain do to a golf course? Okay? If you think that makes a difference, the lowest finishing round in the US Open for a winner, Johnny Miller, 63. The lowest 36-hole total for a winner in the US Open, Larry Nelson, 131. Oakmont. You think Oakmont's an easy golf course? Go play. So if the next time around in 29 we get a little rain, the golf course didn't change. The weather did. Ladies and gentlemen, that's all I got. Thank you for being here. I truly appreciate it.